We told you earlier today, if you're watching this on Monday night, Penn State was about to go on a recruiting run. They're in the middle of it right now, officially, with a new commitment in the class of 2024. Ryan Snyder, fresh from T-ball, is coming back, getting right into the video room, and is going to be telling us what we need to know.
Sorry.
You're giving away all your signals on camera. What are you doing?
It's T-ball, man. These kids have no idea what they're doing. Anyway, yeah, Antoine Belgrave-Shorter. Penn State finally gets the second half. That Mandarin high school duo that Terry Smith has been pushing very hard for months now. Compared to Jon Mitchell, Belgrave-Shorter doesn't have the ratings and all that stuff. I do think that there's a good chance that'll change, at least from talking to Penn State side of this, man. They have him right up there with Mitchell. Of course, Mitchell is a top 100 prospect, number 60 something in the nation, I believe. If you look at Belgrave-Shorter, he's a high 3-star right now. But I think as we get testing numbers and other things like that, that has the opportunity to change. T-Frank, you've watched this film a little bit more, so I'll throw it to you in a second. The one thing I would say here, though, is that as we see often with recruitments of teammates, Mitchell, I don't want to say is the reason all these schools have come after Belgrave, but a lot of them are watching Mitchell early. And they're saying, hey, who's this guy on the other side of the field? And as you just kind of look at his recruitment, he goes by AJ. So let's call him AJ. He had a handful, a group of 5 offers, through the season. And then he gets a Kentucky offer, I believe, in early November, a Maryland offer in December. And then I think another dozen so Power 5 schools have really kind of offered between January and into March. So, that's a lot of just film review, watching Mitchell and then saying, hey, this guy over here is a heck of a player as well. And then the other thing I'd say, too, is that Cam Campbell, I've talked about him a few times. He has that relationship with Terry Smith. Cam coached Cam Miller, kind of a DB trainer in the area. That's how that relationship started. And here we go. Terry kicks it, builds a good relationship with one of the coaches in the region. And now he has 2 more quality corners. So the one thing I just would really stress to fans is you're going to look at this rating, right? And you're going to say Jon Mitchell's here and AJ's here. And I'm telling you right now, that is not at all how Penn State sees this. I mean, they really have Belgrave-Shorter as one of their top 3 or 4 corners this entire class. I mean, that's been going on for months now.
Yeah, I'm excited to dig into the film. I want to get to it in just a second, though, because the story, I'm selfish. I want to learn something before I tell somebody something, because I want to learn the story of how they got here. And you mentioned Jon Mitchell being a big part of that. But in the last couple of weeks, you've been talking about how this was a heavy lean and this felt like Penn State was in the lead. So just take us through the last couple of weeks of how we got to here tonight with him committing to the Nittany Lions on Monday.
It really started last fall. Him and Mitchell make it to the whiteout game against Minnesota, and their coach Cam Campbell, who we talked about, he brought him up for that, and that's when they get around the coaches and able to. There's only so much talking going on in a big game like that, right? It's all kind of just small talk, quick hellos, and things like that. But just getting around that atmosphere, and then just making the trip, right? When you make that trip on your own dime, it shows a lot of interest. So I think that had a hand in that. But of course, they came back here a couple weeks ago, and that's really. And even let me clarify. I mean, before that, we knew Mitchell was leaning towards Penn State. I felt very confident in saying Mitchell was always very close with Terry Smith, and then the coach relationship between those two. Mitchell was always the one I felt confident about. When I would ask about AJ, there was a lot more. Well, he's very interested in Miami. He's taking a visit to Kentucky. We really, we know Penn State's going to be in the mix. I always thought they'd be an official visitor and all that. But I never thought Mitchell, saw that coming. AJ, I didn't see that coming as much in January, February, and even early March. But then once they lined up this visit for the end of March, early April, they were here for 3 days. And let me clarify, they drove all the way up from Jacksonville and back. So it's a van.
They really like it here.
Yeah, they got Coach Campbell in the car. They got Jon, AJ. AJ's mother and grandfather came, and then John's parents came, mother and father came. So what is that, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, I don't know, something like that.
That's a bus. That's not a car. That's a bus.
Well, I was interviewing on the way home, and they're like, yeah, we got the bus, or we got the van, going down 95. It was fun little small talk. But yeah, it was a full car. But anyway, whenever you're bringing the family, and you're committed to not just 3 days, but you're driving it yourselves. I mean, that's a heck of, I don't know how long it is. I would assume that's 18, 20 hours or so round trip. It speaks to just how very interested they are. So of course they lock up Mitchell coming out of that visit. He commits on April 1. And I mean, the Coach Campbell, he flat out said the Penn State's in the catbird seat here. They're in a great position. From what he was telling me, AJ wanted to see Miami and he wanted to see South Carolina. And I don't know if those visits have happened in the last 9 days. I got to be honest. I thought they were going to come here towards in the coming weeks. I thought.
Yeah.
I don't think they have. I just think really just he knew, from the relationship with John, relationship with Coach, and obviously the growing relationship with Terry Smith, that this is where he wanted to be. And obviously the family loved it. Everything checked out from that perspective. So it was really a big 3-day trip there, March 30th to April 2nd. That really kind of sealed the deal. Obviously, it locked up Mitchell and it locked up Belgrave-Shorter. 9 days later.
Yeah. So I want to underscore the point that you're talking about here. I'm going to share my screen here so that you can see what we're talking about when we say that Antoine Belgrave-Shorter is not this 3-star that you should just ignore. The offer list here is really impressive. This is his offer listed on 3. Penn State, obviously, committed to the Nittany Lions. UCF, Miami, South Carolina, Louisville, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Ole Miss, Pittsburgh. This is just the volume of these should indicate, this is a real player. This is a guy that should be taken seriously and that has real talent at the position. And I think you're right to say that the two guys are very similar in Jon Mitchell and Antoine Belgrave-Shorter. The great thing is, because they're teammates, I've seen a lot of Antoine Belgrave-Shorter doing the Jon Mitchell T-Frank's film room, which you can check out at bluewhiteillustrated.com. I'll throw up some of his highlights and give you some of the context here. Jon Mitchell has a reputation. People don't throw at Jon Mitchell all that much. So Belgrave-Shorter got a lot of work this past season. And maybe it's the bias of how many times he got targeted, but I think he might have better ball skills than Jon Mitchell. I think he's really good at the catch point. They're both very good at the catch point. In fact, they're kind of the same player. Probably Belgrave-Shorter is a little bit bigger. But other than that, they both have great movement skills. Belgrave-Shorter maybe a little more physical than Mitchell. Mitchell maybe a little more fluid and athletic, but they're both in the same ballpark in terms of skills. So Penn State gets another outside corner. So you look at this overall class now. They've got Belgrave-Shorter and Jon Mitchell on the outside and Kenny Woosley in the slot. But all those guys can play all those positions. I think the one guy who might be a pure outside guy is Antoine Belgrave-Shorter. The speed is good. The athleticism is good. And both of these guys, I love that both of these guys put this play on their highlight tape where they both, they played a game, the game that you're seeing here. They played a whole game of cover 0, Ryan. So when it comes to, because they were playing a team that likes to run the ball a lot, so they wanted to put 10 men in the box. So these guys have a lot of experience in man coverage, press man at the line of scrimmage. They're perfect for Manny Diaz's defense, and they have a really good composite skill set. So I think this is a great fit for Penn State. I think this is a great fit for Belgrave-Shorter, and he is absolutely a sleeper in this class for me. I think he is a quality player. Some of the things, I don't think he or Mitchell, and this is kind of going to be a review of both of them just because that's how it's going to work, but neither of them are super long at the corner position, so they're not a Joey Porter Jr., kind of in a standard frame size of good size, not elite, but both are very good at football. Technique is very good. I think they both have good hips to run and turn and run with players. So Penn State is getting a great package here. Now, this is, I have to do this because fans are going to say this, and I want to get the rebuttal from you or the not rebuttal. This feels a lot like St. Thomas Aquinas in 2023, where you get King Mack, who feels like a really great fit, strong fit, not a question at all that he commits, and you feel like that one's going to stick. And then you get Conrad Hussey. And Conrad Hussey, you're looking at him the whole time like, yeah, that's a great fit. That two different players with distinct skill sets at safety, and all the way down to the last second where Conrad Hussey commits to Florida State. Do you feel similarly about these two guys? Because it happened almost the exact same way in terms of how they've committed. So how do you feel about this group of guys versus last year?
That's one thing I certainly would say is I feel like Belgrave-Shorter has a lot of interest in Florida State, and Florida State hadn't offered yet. So that was one thing to maybe keep an eye on. I don't know. We had a podcast a couple of weeks ago where I kind of brought up this, and I think that's kind of why you're bringing it up, right? Where I was like, I always felt very good about Mitchell. Belgrave, I kind of was always just Penn State's top 3, but I don't know if he really loves them. I hate on a commitment video saying like a kid's going to decommit down the road, but I mean, you never can rule it out. The one thing I would say is the Campbell relationship with Terry Smith. I do feel like that's different compared to the Aquinas situation. We're not saying that Penn State obviously has great relationships with the guys at Aquinas. I do feel like this relationship with Cam Campbell is a little different because it's, it goes back many years now, the Cam Miller recruitment. There's just a couple more layers to that. And whenever you have, good, I don't know. Well, that sounds like I'm talking bad on St. Thomas Aquinas guys. I would say whenever you have good adults around guys, it helps. And let me clarify, like Aquinas has, Miami is nuts, right? But Aquinas is a very well-run program. It is not one of those programs where, you have all this talent, but no great coaching. That is not Aquinas at all. So you can certainly make those comparisons. I would lean towards the Campbell relationship, really maybe potentially probably being a difference maker for Penn State, but it's April 10th. And I'd be mistaken if I was like, never need to worry about anything. It's recruiting, and Florida recruiting is, the I don't want to say the craziest, but the craziest. Let's be honest with what it is. I mean, it's wild down there. So, I mean, schools are going to keep going after both of these guys. Let's see how things shape up. But Terry Smith is also, him and J1 are clearly their top recruiters right now. And I'd be mistaken to ever think that Terry Smith's not going to get his guys at the finish line.
And that it feels different. Like outside looking in, I know you have more relationships with these guys. You have more kind of the institutional knowledge there. But from the outside looking in, what I'm reading and the vibe is very different. That these guys seem a little bit different than last year, where Hussey was a surprise. This doesn't feel as much like a surprise. And again, like you said, not to bring up all of that stuff during a commitment video, but it is something that fans are absolutely going to ask, and it's something that they want to know. So I want to make sure we cover that here. Anything left on the bone for Antoine Belgrave-Shorter committing to the Nittany Lions? A big commitment, I think, personally, because you now have your cornerback room for this class set, so you can do whatever you want to do. And you can go after other guys at the position. Maybe, I don't know. Terry Smith is never going to say no to another good outside corner, but what's left here with Belgrave-Shorter, or looking forward, if you've got something there too?
Jameer Grimsley. That's it, in my opinion. If Jameer Grimsley, who, by the way, is Joey Porter Jr., there is a lot of comparisons. 6'2.5" frame, 185. Like, I mean, he is that Joey Porter Jr. frame. He's obviously set for an official visit for Penn State here in June. If he wants to join, I still think Penn State goes and finds a fourth corner. But, obviously Amelia Agard's coming up, Ricky Knight. I don't want to say they're not going to be part of this class now, but I'd be kind of surprised if they are. I feel like it was always a 3 to 4 guy class. And if you can to get to that fourth, it has to be somebody very high on the board. And Jameer Grimsley is one of those guys. Of course, the Tampa Catholic prospect that we've talked about quite a bit here. So keep an eye on Grimsley. Other than that, I think Terry Smith's very, very happy with what he's got.
Did you say another Florida cornerback?
Yes, Tampa. I mean, Terry's crushing it with them, right? I mean, he's on a roll. So,
well, be on the lookout for that. And once again, for Penn State fans, this is a very good commitment. This is a very good recruit, and I think somebody who can play and be productive at Penn State. So Penn State gets Antoine Belgrave-Shorter in the class of 2024. They have 3 corners now, and I'm telling you again. I know that I said it. I haven't said it yet in this video. You got to subscribe to Blue White Illustrated here on YouTube, because this stuff is happening fast. I mean, Ryan was at baseball, so like we're scrambling to keep up with some of this stuff as well. Appreciate Ryan so much. Thank you for being available and coming on and doing this breaking news video. So I appreciate you. Thank you, man.
Baseball to the bathtub. Not me, guys. I got to go do my toddlers now. Everybody has a bad vision now. Shut it off. Turn it off. Turn it off.
All right. I'm going to play you out, Ryan. That'll do it now for the BWI breaking news video. We'll be back with more here on Blue White Illustrated on YouTube. We'll talk to you then.